the Vevor worm farm. Let's take a look inside. It has been working really, really well. So you can see there's some mold growing in here, some type of mold, and I've got it too wet, and so I actually need to let it dry out a little bit. I put too much water in it, but they have been really eating through all this newspaper in here. It's crazy. I just put a couple layers of newspaper on top of some food scraps, and they are just eating through everything. So they are just loving it in here. We threw some carrots in there. Those will take longer to biodegrade, but there's thousands of worms in here. Look at them all. Some potato pieces in there. So stuff like this will take longer to biodegrade if you put actual pieces of food in here, especially stuff like my big carrots and stuff like that I threw in there. But one of the things that I have kind of partnered this system with that's been working really well is this kitchen composter, it's called. I think this is an ethereal, is that what they call it? Ethereal? I did a quick video on this a while ago, and it's a pretty good, it's a pretty useful little unit. You can throw anything in here, so you can throw a rotten apple in here, you can throw any kind of food scraps, food leftovers, anything in here, dairy, cheese, meats, anything, and it will grind it, dry it, and turn it into this powder, which is perfect for the worm farm. So this is not composted. This is really just dried and ground up organic matter. Then we can take the dried organic matter, and then at my leisure, when the worms need more food, this can just get sprinkled in here. Then I'll just cover it up, and that'll absorb the moisture, and it will start to break down, and it's ready for them to eat. It's small enough for them to eat, so they can actually eat it a lot better and break it down a lot quicker. So this thing's pretty simple. That's all there is to it. I don't really know. The instructions weren't great. I think I'm supposed to put this maybe on top as a filter, air filter. I'm not sure. So I'm going to try that. We'll leave this one on the top. I actually think I made this layer too thick. You can see how much higher this one is. So it's probably time for me to add another layer, maybe take some of that out and put it in here. What will happen is most of the worms are eating in here. And then in the bottom layer, let me take this off. This is, I don't know, I guess kind of a bedroom, you could say. There'll actually be worm castings down here. Also, you can see there's some worms digging through here right now. But this is mostly just dirt and cocoa core and some newspaper. And they'll kind of go through this, but mainly they'll come up here and they'll eat, and then they'll go down to the next layer. So they're going between the two layers. So I've got 2 more bins down there, and you'll just keep adding this. So what will happen is they'll eat a bunch of food in here. I can actually add another layer onto this now and start putting some cocoa core in it, start putting some of my native soil in it, and slowly starting to add some scraps to it. They'll eat all the food out of this tray, and then I'll have another one on top. They'll start to migrate up to that one, and then I'll start to feed them in that tray. So eventually they'll finish off all the food in here, and they'll migrate up to the next one. And then you just keep feeding them in the top tray, and then migrate up to the next one. And then you can take the bottom tray off once you get a few layers high. There won't be any worms in there anymore because they'll have all migrated up towards where the food is. And then you can just take this one off and empty it out, and it'll be pure, soil and worm castings. This has a little spout on it. Honestly, if you're putting enough water in this for it to soak all the way through and get to the bottom, you're probably putting too much water in it. But you could soak this, pour a ton of water in here, let it filter through, and what you'll end up with is a compost tea at the bottom that will be just super potent nutrients. And you can take that and dump it into house plants or fruit trees or other things you have as basically a liquid organic fertilizer. And so that is one way you can do this, but I have a feeling if you do that too much, you're going to end up over soaking the unit, and then it's going to end up getting mold and smell and stuff like that. So you actually don't want it to be this wet. Right now, this is very moist, so it's a little bit too much. So I'm just gonna, for now, we're just gonna put this one on here. It's a great little unit, and it's inexpensive. It's well built. It's all just plastic. I mean, it's not gonna go bad. It's not gonna break, so you can keep using it. These things down here, I think if you fill these with water, it prevents ants from getting here. If you had this outside, ants would get in there and eat the food, obviously. And so I think if you fill this with water, it keeps a place where the ants can't climb up the side. So it's kind of an ant deterrent. So my plan with the worm composter here is to actually keep this inside to use for a winter operation, especially. All of our vegetable scraps, food scraps, I'll put them through the dryer, and then as they build up in there, I'll sprinkle them into the worm bin. The worms are also going to multiply in here, and I think if we keep a healthy environment for them, they'll start to eat that food pretty quickly. And so we can put more and more food in there and produce more and more worm castings. So the idea is that I can harvest those worm castings throughout the wintertime and then use those to start seedlings, to fertilize indoor plants, start new indoor grows, and then also to take it out into the garden in the springtime and use just to help start seedlings and stuff. Worm castings are great sources of nutrients for young plants and old plants. So it's just a great source of nutrients all around. So just another way that we can fit something into the sustainable world here, try to use every bit of food scrap that we have. A lot of it goes out to the chickens. Now some of it can come to the worms, and we can produce different types of compost with different nutrients and for different uses around the homestead. So let me know what you guys think of the Vevor worm casting maker, worm bin. I'll put a link in the description, of course, to this unit over on Vevor. I've worked with that company for quite a long time. They're a real solid marketplace, alternative to Amazon for stuff like this, and so you can check them out. I'll put a link in the description. I think they have a 5% off discount code for you if you want to use that. Thumbs up on today's video. Of course, subscribe if you're first time here. Love to have you tag along, and we'll see you next time.